Growing your business can mean big-time logistical questions, like how are we going to keep up with all these local deliveries? Let Uber Direct offer you a helping hand. With Uber Direct, you take orders on your website, app, or by phone. Then, drivers who are part of Uber's courier network pick them up from your store and deliver them to your customer's doorstep. Sounds simple, right? Delivery just got better with Uber Direct. Learn more at uberdirect.com.
What if you could have a career where the opportunities are as vast as our nation, where it's not about mission statements, but a shared mission? At U.S. Customs and Border Protection, we go beyond to protect more than borders. From ship to shore, air to ground, cities to local communities, CBP agents and officers are keeping people safe. Join U.S. Customs and Border Protection and go beyond for something far greater than yourself. Learn more at cbp.gov/careers.
Thank you for tuning in to the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. Whether you're listening during your commute, while working out, or just relaxing at home, we appreciate you. Every download, every listen, and every subscription means a lot. Thank you for being part of the 12 Kyle podcast community. Stay tuned for another episode. This is the 12 Kyle podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading. And thank you for subscribing to the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. I am your boy, 12 Kyle. Man, check this out. On this episode, what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about the best rappers who turned actors. And listen, I couldn't think of anybody else to do this episode with me. It's been a long time coming. This guy literally and figuratively is the first podcaster that I knew. He had a podcast way before podcasts were called podcasts. Fellow podcaster, husband, father. My man Rashani is in the building. Man, what's up, man?
You know what? I still have a clip from like 2011, 2012,
Wow.
where I have you doing a promo for the show, like just during my radio breaks. I had you doing a promo for the show. I had Javon Bibbs and Daryl Frierson doing promos. Like, we have worked with so many folks who have done so many great things, like just so many luminaries in podcasting, like really founding fathers and pioneers and founding mothers and founding folks pioneering. Even if you, and I want the folks who are listening who are thinking about podcasting, even if you feel like you're not getting the numbers you're looking for, you're not getting the listeners you're looking for, somebody out in the world heard my show and was like, I want to do that. Mm-hmm. And started a podcast. Somebody out in the world heard 12 Kyle show and was like, I want to do that. Somebody out in the world heard Eclectic show and was like, what the fuck? I gotta do that. Right. I gotta do that. So it's like we have all of these people, black podcasters, who we grew up with. Like, honestly, our formative years as adults, we grew up together formulating this format that y'all are now utilizing without even thinking about it. Like back when we had to have the RSS feeds on tap and when you had to know where to go to, because there were only like 3 sites you could go to, but you had to know how to build it out of WordPress because there wasn't actually a site that you could go to. And Apple wasn't Apple Podcast. Apple was just like, y'all niggas don't stop bothering us. So you're going to turn in your podcast to us and we're going to get back to you in like 2 to 3 fucking weeks.
Right.
Before we accept you for this podcast. It wasn't immediate. It was like 2 to 3 weeks down the line. Spotify didn't have podcasts. Google didn't have podcasts. All you had was your voice, an RSS feed, fucking Skype, ladies and gentlemen. Skype recorders that didn't always work, a horrible mix board, and the desire to talk about something. And now you look at podcasting where it is now, where it's like you have all these different celebrities doing it. You have all these people running towards, you have all these things happening. And it's like, the success is there for y'all, but the success is there because of us. We're the ones who literally created we laid the concrete in this game. And so I'm thankful that now, shit. I'm sorry, I'm really thinking about this. Now, 27 years later.
Yeah.
No, not 27. 17 years later. Sorry. 17 years later, I am able still to get on a microphone and talk. I am able still to talk to folks who, when we first started doing this, I had all my hair and your hair was black.
Thanks.
When we started doing this, your eldest son, happy belated birthday to him, wasn't even thinking about college. He was, I want to say, in like going into first or second grade when we started this gangster shit. Yeah. Back when the Cold Slither podcast was popping off. Back when the Black Guy Who Tips was out there every week doing the live shows. Like, there are so many. Back when All Balls Don't Bounce was still a thing. And we were all still trying to find our way in the street. So we were all doing the same pop culture shit. And then Eclectic came and, in my opinion, changed the game. And Classic, who is now doing this thing as a wrestling announcer and as a host. And I'm so proud of my nemesis. But came out and was like, this is what we're going to do. We're going to talk old school, and just showed us there are other ways. And it's such a small show in the tree of life. But it's still a fucking branch.
It is.
And without that branch, nothing else grows off of it at all. That's how I look at podcasting. I'm glad to be here. Like you said, it's been a long time coming, but it ain't like it's been like we've been back and forth at it. We just haven't been able to get a chance to link up in literally, ladies and gentlemen, 17 years. It's not from a lack of trying. It just hasn't had, there wasn't an opportunity for it to work out. But exactly. Thank you for having me. I really do appreciate it.
I couldn't have said it better, man. And you know what's interesting was I got the idea to do this particular episode after I heard you and Baylor do the episode that you guys did remixing the movies. Now, for those of you who did not hear that episode, please do yourself a favor. After listening to this podcast, go listen to that. And I actually came back and did a remix to their episode. So I basically did a remix to the remix. And it was fun. I was like, as soon as I heard it, I text Baylor. I'm like, yo, how you know Rashani? He was like, who don't know Rashani?
Let me say this about Baylor real quick. So Baylor I have that dude's back 100%. If he walked into a room, it said something. There are certain folks in your life that even if you know they're wrong, you're going to pull them to the side privately and say, you fucked up for that. But like The Wire, we're going to go to war on your lie.
On that lie, right.
Like, I'm going to ride with you because you're my folks. Baylor, and I'm not saying that like he lies or anything like that. I'm saying that like I got his back 159,000%. Anytime I do a show, I'm like, Baylor, I need you to hop on this and do this with me real quick. And dude is just such a visionary in so many different ways. Like, I love that guy. So to have the opportunity to talk about those movies with him was absolutely bizarre. But it was also, I do a show called Hindsight, where, because, ladies and gentlemen, I have like 9 podcasts. We'll talk about them after it's all said and done. But Hindsight is where you talk about movies that you ain't seen since you were a kid. You watch them again and you fucking make fun of them because they're horrible now. And that's when he drew me in, because we had been doing storytellers together and stuff like that. He was popping up on my episodes of Storytellers. So he was like, yo, why don't you come and join me on this? And that was an absolute blast. Still got to get with bro about the R&B list because his ain't touching mine. But, I'm going to get both y'all on a show together and y'all can just argue and I'm going to sit back and listen.
Hey, listen, we'll do that. Because, he is literally and figuratively my little brother, man. A younger brother, I should say. Man, listen, this dude, and I always tell this story, but first time I met him, the only time I met him, we were out in California in LA for a week, and I was out there with the family, and I'd hit him up, and I was like, yo, I'm going to be out there, whatever. And it was Thanksgiving week, and it was a Friday, and we were going to the LA Lakers game.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was like, well, where you at? I was like, well, we're in downtown LA. We're right next to the Staples Center. We're going to go get something to eat, and then we're going inside the game. He was like, all right, well, I'm on the way. I was like, okay. I didn't know where he was coming from. I didn't know how long it was going to take there. Now, luckily, it's Thanksgiving week, so it's not as much traffic in LA. But if you've been to LA, you know how there's no such thing as a reprieve in LA traffic.
Mm-hmm.
And so he came down, parked. We found each other, dapped up, hugged, talked for about 15 minutes, then we went in the game. And I don't know where wherever he came from, it literally took him probably about 90 minutes to get there, just to chop it up with me for 15 minutes. And I was like, yo, that's a real one right there. Because most people, if they say, hey, 12 Kyle, I'm coming to Atlanta. Okay.
Enjoy it.
Have fun. Hey, if you need some recommendations of where to go, I can tell you. But I'm not going to the other side of Atlanta to go see somebody. But yeah, when I heard that episode, I was like, and I got this idea. I was like, I got to get Rashani on. I was like, I don't care if we got to do it on the weekend or if I got to stay up, because Bale and I've recorded and I've stayed up till 1-2 o'clock in the morning to record with him, just because he's on the West Coast. So again, brother, good to have you on here. This won't be the last time. So let's get to it. Like I said, we're talking the best rappers to turn actors. We're counting down from 10 to 1, and then maybe we'll do some honorable mentions if you have any. So I guess the best way for us to do it is, you got your 10, right?
So I'm glad you asked.
When
glad you
black
asked.
people say so, that means they didn't do what you.
I'm glad you asked, because me being a nigga of sound mind and body, I was like, you know what? A lot of these folks would have just been like, let me go on Wikipedia and write down 10 and bring it to 12 Kyle and drop it off in his lap. Bada boom, bada bing. Be happy with what I brought you because I mentioned Will Smith. Nah. That ain't how I get down. That ain't how Rashani, that ain't how Derik does things. So what I did was I went to Wikipedia. But I went to Wikipedia and I got the list of rappers who also have acted. Okay. And I wrote down each name. Well, I went through and I wrote down the names of people that I actually respected as far as an actor. Like Bow Wow didn't make the list, even though he was on Roll Bounce. And I love Roll Bounce. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, I love Roll Bounce. He didn't make the list. Okay. So I went down, I got all these, because there's a lot of fucking people on that list. And so I went down and I got the top like 20 people out that list. From those top 20, I went through each one, and I'm going to show 12 Kyle this. I went through each one. I don't know if that's even showing up. It's hella bright.
I see it.
I went through each one, and I thought off the top of my head, without Googling anything, I thought, what can I think of off the top of my head that they were in?
Okay.
And if I could think of stuff that they were in, then they would make it onto the next list. If I could think of enough stuff that they were in, then they could make it onto the next list. From that list, I then was like, okay, from those ones that I just thought of that came into my head, which ones hit me the hardest, which ones affected me the most, which ones touched my soul, whatever it may be. And from that, I made my top 10. Plus, I have a couple of honorable mentions.
Okay. Hey,
so I took this seriously.
I like that. I'm all for that. I think what I did was I went to Wikipedia. No, let me stop. I came up with a list, and I started looking at some of the places where they did it, and I was like, okay, let me start looking at some of the ones that people who I like and who've done things. And so I do have a couple honorable mentions. So let's start there. Let's start at 10, and you give me your 10, and I'll give you my 10. And then I guess the best way I could say it is like, when you give the actor or actress, tell me what favorite thing that they starred in that you like.
Okay, so we're not going to do honorable mentions first. We're going to go straight to number 10.
You know what? We can let's go 10 through 1 and then come back to do the honorable mentions at the end.
Sounds good to me. So you want to go back and forth, where I go with my 10, then you go with your number 10, then I go with my 9 and back and forth, or straight through?
Exactly.
Okay, for sure. So my number 10 is Method Man.
Wow. Okay.
And Method Man, I like to say Method Man literally got it out the mud. Like when Method Man started acting, you could see him um, establishing himself. You could see him going through the chops and everything. But because Method Man was instrumental in shows that shaped my early adult life, he was in both Oz and The Wire.
Facts.
And in The Wire is Cheese. I swear to God, Cheese is one of the most reprehensible people
Yes.
I have ever. Like, if y'all have not, all y'all folks who say I don't like season 2 of The Wire, season 2 of The Wire is the worst season. Y'all need to go back and watch The Wire because season 2 of The Wire is so instrumental to the rest of that, and part of that is Cheese's fault. Cheese is just he glows as Cheese in that in The Wire. And from being Cheese, I really have to think about how I say this. When you watch Cheese, you can see his early start from Belly when he was Shamik, working for Knowledge. So Cheese is just an extension of Shamik, grown out, fleshed out, and matured a bit more. Because Shamik didn't die in Belly. He died at the end because he got beat to death by Tasha. But and then also just from a funny standpoint, him and Redman did one of my favorite underground comedies, How High, which I love somebody who is versatile enough to be able to do the drama, do the hard gritty, and then also just do a lighthearted type of comedy. And he was able to do all three. All these ones that he did were flawless enough to me, or not flawless enough. They had their flaws, but they were good enough that they were believable to me.
Right.
And they made me want to see more of him on the screen. There were other people who are ranked higher than him on my list, who in certain situations, in certain shows, I was like, I would be happy if I never saw them again on that show. LL Cool J comes to mind, and we'll talk about why later on. But for number 10, it was easy for me to put Method Man in this place. He's not an honorable mention. He had stuff that made me move, but he wasn't high enough with his body of work to make me feel like he should be higher than 10 right now.
Right. And one of the reasons why I said wow is because I also have Method Man at 10. Yeah, I got him at 10, man. For some of the same reasons you mentioned. Cheese, I thought was so deplorable, but the thing about Cheese was we knew cats like that. It's in the streets. I really enjoyed Method Man and How High. I think that was one of the first times where I really was like, oh, Meth, he got something here. And of course now, if you follow Power, or I think that's the series. I don't watch Power, but I know he's on the Power series of one of Kanan or one of them shows. But yeah, I definitely and also a fan too. But I left the rap part of it out. But definitely got Method Man at number 10. Number 9. What you got for number 9?
I got Ice-T.
Okay.
So here's the thing about Ice-T. Here's a little something about a nigga like Ice-T, not Ice Cube. That it needs to be known that I know my difference between Ice Cube and Ice-T. But Ice-T, when he started acting, he was a permed out motherfucker on Breakin', who his whole job was the MC for Breakin'. And I mean, it was electrifying to me when I was 5. Right. It was electrifying to me when I was 9. It was electrifying to me when I was 12. But even more than that, his work on Law and Order SVU, like if you've seen SVU, you know that's his show. Like, yeah, there's other people in it, but that is Ice-T's, that is his program right there. And just watching him through all the years that he's been on this show, continue to grow and evolve as an actor, having the funny parts, like I said, having the more dramatic roles, having the roles where he's angry and he's getting in there and he wants to fight, having the roles where he's lost something or he's lost a case or he's lost he can't find a victim. He embodies his part so well. And I know he's been doing it for years, But that doesn't take away from the fact that he's doing it well for years. And he stepped into this pretty much cold turkey. He stepped into it the original gangster, and through hard work and resilience has become somebody that white folks wouldn't run from if they saw him on the street anymore.
Right.
They would literally walk up to him in Coco and be like, "Oh, Ice, nice to meet you. Shake my mother's hand."
Right.
So, yeah, that's why I got him in number 9.
Yeah, number 9. That's a solid pick. Number 9, I got Common.
Okay.
Yeah, I really like Common in Just Right. I know Just Right was kind of cheesy, it's romantic, and he's playing with Queen Latifah, the basketball scenes, we know Common ain't that good of a basketball player, at least, it doesn't appear to be. But from him in there, he was in Smoking Aces, American Gangster, Street Kings, just to name a few. Common's good. I think he's like you said, where I had him there because I think he was good enough not to end up on the honorable mention list, but not dope enough to be, low further down.
So I have him in my honorable mentions.
Okay.
And I'll explain why when we get to the honorable mentions, but I feel what you're saying. And as you're talking about Smoking Aces, which was one of those movies that you see once and push it to the side, but if you saw it again, if it popped up again on TV, if it was one of those movies for guys who like movies, I ain't turning away from it. Yeah, no, he has a body of work that's impressive within itself. But like I said, Just Right, I just couldn't. It was like watching Leonardo DiCaprio playing basketball in the Basketball Diaries. Oh my God. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
No. But he was with Latifah, so that was cool. So
oh, definitely.
A little love story. What you got for number 8?
Number 8. This is where the paths divulge, ladies and gentlemen. This is where it diverges a little bit. For number 8. I have Nicholas 22 Kids Cannon.
Wow. Didn't have that on my bingo card.
Did not. And I really had to think about this. Like when I'm doing my list and I'm going down the line, I'm like, this nigga's body of work is kind of phenomenal. Like, it's not the best shit, but it's all memorable shit. And his body of work, he's in it. So if you push aside Drumline, which was a good movie in its own right,
Love Drumline.
Right? It was a good movie in its own right. Want to let you know, I ain't got no kids yet.
Yet. The operative word being yet.
But then you push that aside. You push aside Roll Bounce, where he's Beanard. Just little roles where he's just like having these little pithy moments where he's actually dropping jewels on these kids. You got Wildin' Out, bro. Like, you got Love Don't Cost a Thing with him and Christina Milian. And then above all else, you got The Real Husbands of Hollywood.
I forgot about that.
Now, for me, The Real Husbands of Hollywood, Wildin' Out, and Roll Bounce. Wildin' Out, for those of y'all who have Samsung TVs, if you turn on your TV, they got that channel that you can select. It's just like free cable. It's just like free streaming cable. And one of the things you can select is literally a Wildin' Out channel. So I can sit there and watch Wildin' Out all day. And in doing so, I grew a respect for the work that he's putting in. Because to me, improvisation is also a form of acting. It's a form of storytelling, and it's a talent that a lot of these actors don't have. And within that, I have to lift him up. I ain't lifting him past 8. But I'm going to give it to him because of everything he's done, not to mention the fact that, he had the Nick Cannon show. He had all that. He had all these things he did on Nickelodeon before he even started doing Gigolo. So, yeah, I'll give him 8.
Okay. That's a solid pick. That's a very solid pick. My number 8, I'll go back to one that you just mentioned, Ice-T. Ice-T particularly in New Jack City, I think the thing
I forgot that nigga. I forgot New Jack City on my list.
Remember New Jack City?
Right, squinchily eat motherfuckers. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Here's the funny thing, and I want to really impress upon people who may not have been around in the early '90s and late '80s. A rapper becoming an actor was a thing. Like, it was really a thing, and there were several big name Hollywood stars who did not want said rappers in these movies because they thought these rappers would eventually, quote unquote, take their jobs. Mm-hmm. And some of them did. And Ice-T, I remember distinctly, there was some pushback from some Hollywood people. None of them stood by it as far as putting their name on it, but they didn't want him to play that role. I mean, but looking back on it now, like, who else would have played that role besides Ice-T?
You know what's crazy about New Jack City? Now that you mention it, and it's in my head, because I did not even put it on my list. Like I said, it was just stuff that was coming off the top of my head. Mm-hmm. Without him doing New Jack City, he would have never done Law and Order SVU.
None. Nope.
Like, that was his reel to do SVU. And that was his first role past Breaking. And you know what? He's electric in it. He really is. Like, we talk a lot about Wesley Snipes and Nino Brown and all that, but Ice-T was, for a brand new actor, he knocked that out the park and then ran around the bases twice just as a victory lap. Like, he did amazing in that movie. So I could see where you would give him 8 for that, but I gave him 9, so I don't feel that badly about it. I'm just saying, I could switch him and Nick Cannon out based on the power of New Jack City, because that movie and him in it. Without him in it, like, really, let's put Denzel in Ice-T's role in New Jack City.
Okay.
Is it better or worse?
It's not worse, but it's
different.
It's different. Yeah, it's definitely different.
The tone of it is completely different.
Right.
Okay. You're right. Denzel is like God status. Okay. Let's do this. Mm-hmm. Equal levels. Let's do an equal level thing.
Okay.
Take Ice-T and take Mario Van Peebles and switch their roles. So Mario Van Peebles is Ice-T's role, and Ice-T is the police lieutenant or whatever.
I don't think he pulls it off, because when he becomes when he has to infiltrate CMB, I don't think Mario Peebles can pull that off.
Yeah, me either. He came out with a new posse.
No, I must have missed that.
Mario Van Peebles. So I have this thing called the Super Box, where they just, movies just happen to fall in my lap. I'm not going to say more than that. And I happen to notice that he has it's called Posse Outlaws.
Wow.
And it's Jesse. It's Jesse from Posse. I didn't go any further past the intro because I was like, I don't want to watch Mario Van Peebles act ever.
I was about to ask you, how bad was it?
Nah, it's a Tubi movie already. I could tell. Okay. But he did another Posse, and I was like, oh, okay. But yeah, nah. Ice-T, I can see Ice-T playing in a lot of roles that Mario Van Peebles ended up making for himself. Mm-hmm. And that's when he was first starting, when he was doing New Jack City. That's literally a compliment that I can't give to a lot of rappers.
Facts. Big facts. So number 7. What you got at 7?
Oh, man.
I'm wondering, before you even go, I'm wondering how many of these, I think we're probably going to have more of these together, but they may not be in the same order. But that's cool, right? But I'm interested. Now, like you said, now we're getting to the nitty gritty.
Mm-hmm. And Baylor's going to fucking disown me because at number 7, I have Tupac. Not higher than 7. And for those y'all who don't know my podcasting history, I literally have an episode called Are You Still Down? A Love Letter to Tupac. Like, I have that. Tupac is my guy. Mm-hmm. Acting though.
Hey,
so Tupac, if he had lived, let's put it like that. If Tupac hadn't died, he'd be higher on this list. No question. Because Juice, him as Bishop was fucking marvelous. He was So just, that was his movie. Fuck all those actors. Fuck Samuel L. Jackson. Fuck everybody else who came through there talking about the snappy nappy dugout. Fuck everything else that happened in that movie. Tupac was that movie. He pushed that pilot. He pushed that program to the hilt and made it everything.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, Above the Rim with Birdie.
Yes.
Every time he hit the scene with Birdie, even when he was watching Kyle play basketball, when Kyle was playing for his high school, and Birdie was just standing off to the side. If you watch Above the Rim again, which you should, because it's one of my favorite movies of all time.
Same.
If you watch at the very beginning, when Birdie is sitting there with the toothpick in his mouth, watching Kyle ball hog his way through a loss in that first game. The girl who was with Birdie is not watching the game at all. She keeps looking back at Tupac like, I can't believe I'm standing with you. Wow. Daddy, I love him. It is one of those things where whenever Tupac is on the scene, he is the main character. He is magnetic. He is taking over. And it was the same in Gang Related with John Belushi. It was the same in Gridlock with Tim Roth. Don't get me wrong. I have all of his movies and I love all of his movies. It's just he died too soon.
Okay.
He died too soon. So I can't say what the future would have held for him as he got older. If he would have done a movie about some of the Black Panthers, if he would have done a movie about, if he would have, dude, sometimes I close my eyes and I picture him doing a movie with Lakeith Stanfield. Because, you know, Lakeith did the movie about Black Judas.
Yeah. Chairman Fred Hampton.
Yes, and that movie was fucking fantastic. I could see Tupac doing a movie like that with him. I could see Tupac. Tupac never got a chance to do a comedy. Tupac never got a chance to do a love film. I could see Tupac, after he had finished with Death Row, just walking away from music and just doing TV and movies wholeheartedly. Because remember, he went to an acting school. Mm-hmm. So he went to a school for the arts when he first started off. He had the promise, and you could see it every time he was on the. I didn't know what magnetic was until I saw Tupac. Mm-hmm. Again, I'm waxing poetic about this nigga right now, just thinking about it. But I got him at 7 because this dude and his nephew decided to go and kill him in Vegas one night.
Mm-hmm. Crazy. Still an unsolved mystery. Still painful to even, you know, especially for those of us who lived through it. Mm-hmm. Because, you know, and I've said on the podcast before, and it's worth repeating. When we heard he got shot, none of us thought he was going to die. You know, mm-hmm. It was like, oh, he got shot again? Okay.
That's exactly what Biggie said. When I heard he got shot, I said, again?
Like, you know, but for him to, you know, pass away was just crazy. But yeah, okay, so you got Pocket 7. Okay.
Yeah, but, you know, like I said, had he lived, if he was a boy who lived, he might have been higher up, but
I got you. Yeah. Now Baylor's gonna have something to say about that.
I know. I love you, Baylor. You know I'm right though.
My number 7 is a guy also we lost a little too soon. Well, actually, way too soon. Darkman X. I got.
Oh DMX. Wow, DMX.
DMX at 7. His roles in Belly, Romeo Must Die.
Romeo Must Die. Mm-hmm.
Love X. I'm a. And when I was making my list, I tried to remove my fandom of them as artists, you know, as musical artists, and just focus on the acting. And that's why I have X at 7. He wasn't like blow you away great, but I thought he was very solid and very consistent. And I think if he had, you know, kind of kept himself clean, he probably could have stayed in the game as far as acting was concerned. But, you know, X was just X, man. He was in trouble. Mm-hmm. He was in jail. He was out of jail. He was back in trouble. He was high, and you know he was able to, you know, still go back and make music and stuff. But yeah, I got X at 7.
You know what's crazy about DMX? First of all, I love DMX. Mm-hmm. I love X. X and Tupac are like the East and West Coast versions of each other in my head. Like I love. When he came out with those 2 albums back to back, my freshman year of college, I didn't leave my room without It's Dark and Hell is Hot. and flesh is my flesh, blood of my blood. I made sure that when I played Damien, I had to then put in flesh of my flesh, blood of my blood, and play the Omen back to back. Seeing him in such a horrible movie as Romeo Must Die. I mean, it should have been a horrible movie. Let's be honest. It starred him and Aaliyah. It should have been an awful movie. It should have been the fucking Carmen of movies.
Not Carmen.
And Jet Li, who Jet Li doesn't talk a lot. Jet Li, you know, he gonna beat you up, but he ain't gonna. Yeah, DMX was so electric in that movie. DMX was electric in Belly. DMX wasn't the best actor as a rapper in Belly, and if you want to, I'm not pushing people towards it, but if you want to go back and listen to Hindsight, we did a full-on review of Belly. Okay. DMX wasn't even the best rapper turned actor in Belly. That was Method Man as Shameek. Are you the illest nigga in Nebraska? But DMX had that personality that made you believe he should have been there. My co-host Brandon told me that the original role of, I still can't get past the fact that nigga's real name was Buns and his nickname was Tommy. But the original role is supposed to go to Jay-Z. And again, it goes in that same line. If you put Jay-Z in DMX's role for Belly, if you put Jay-Z in DMX's role for Romeo Must Die, it gets markedly worse.
Way worse. I don't see Jay-Z as an actor at all.
Yeah, no. But if you put Mario Van Peebles, and I'm going to keep going back to him because he's the closest actor to a rapper that we have. Like a fledgling rapper is Mario Van Peebles in my eye, and you can't shake me of that at all. But if you put him in the Romeo Must Die role, if you put him in Belly, it gets markedly worse. So I can see DMX. I respect that. I respect that a lot.
No doubt. What you got for number 6?
Number 6. Now this one, I stand on it. I will stand on this one till the cows come home. From number 6 on up, I stand on business on every one that I said. Okay. And I will fight for it. Number 6 is Mos Def.
Wow. And I say wow because Mos was just outside of my top 10. I had him on my honorable mention. Go ahead.
Watch him go up as I tell you this. Mos Def, before he did anything else, before he did any other movies, back when he was doing Umi Says, he did a movie called Something the Lord Made. His very first acting role was an HBO movie called Something the Lord Made, where he plays a doctor, a black doctor who, if I recall correctly, did the first open heart surgery. He walked into acting, not doing some little kid role, not doing some one-off role, not doing some In Living Color role or some sort of joking ass shit. He walked into acting to be a surgeon. His very first role, he played and when I say it was credible, he played a credible surgeon in his very first role. Acting like you felt him. You felt where he was coming from, the nuances, the whole 9 yards. He killed that role. First time up the bat, knocked it out the park. It's like Alan Rickman going and doing Die Hard the very first time he acts, but for rappers stepping into a dramatic role. Then he turns around and presents to you Left Ear from The Italian Job. He killed The Italian Job. Like his comedy in The Italian Job, I told you I had a bad experience. And let's say I'm deaf. Like in the pantheon of that movie, which was Marky Mark, Charlize Theron, Jason Statham, the little nigga, the short one from Austin Powers and Can't Hardly Wait and all that, the little white boy, I always forget what his name is, but he was also a great one. Edward Norton, Donald Sutherland, all these luminaries. You got Mos Def. Mos Def is the only black person in the movie, first of all. Wow. Mos Def is the only rapper amongst all the, I mean, Marky Mark. At some point, I got him on my honorable mention just because Marky Mark. But really, no, he don't fucking count. He's fucking Marky Mark. But, you know, they had him on the list. So I was like, yeah.
I was about to say he's on everybody's list.
But Mos Def, in my opinion, was the only rapper who stepped into this as his second role and didn't come off like a rapper. He came off as just another actor, a good actor in an ensemble of heavy-hitting actors and actresses in a movie that went global and did good numbers. He was excellent. He was the comedic relief, but he was also just like, there was no moment where he seemed uncertain or unsteady or like he shouldn't have been there. He came through and he didn't kick down the buildings, but he definitely left dents and cracks everywhere he landed. And the last one, which for you and I, being hip hop heads, that nigga destroyed Brown Sugar. He destroyed Brown Sugar. Tell me he didn't, and we can fight all day.
All day.
Him just, again, a movie where it's him and Queen Latifah in a room full of credible actors, and you can't tell who's the actor and who's the rapper. Like, at the point where he got stuck in the corner with that nigga from Real Housewives or Husbands of Hollywood, and now Marriage on the Menu. Hey man, I hear somebody calling me way over there, so I gotta go. Like, Mos Def is such a talent that you knew that his acting wasn't going to last forever because he had so many other things he wanted to do. But while he was in that world, he made his mark. And that's why it's not like he can't come back and do something else. It's not like he hasn't done more. I'm sure he's done more. But just those three things, he was like everything to me. Okay. And so that's why I got him not in the top 5, but I will put him squarely at number 6.
You know what's interesting, man? I want to say I've seen that, or I've seen that movie on TV, like you know, flipping channels, and I never, because I do remember Mos being a doctor. He was like in some Scrubs or something like that, and I was like, oh, that's Mos, and then I was like going to some football game or something like that. So I need to go back and watch that though.
But here's the reason why, and here's that's the beauty of it. It isn't like he's doing something flashy. It isn't like he's out there doing anything big or anything. He's actually in dark rooms being a doctor, doing if you just flip past, you're like, oh yeah, this is like some Ben Carson shit. I don't want to watch this right now. I want to do something else. This dude, for his first movie, was like, I want to do this. This is what I want to embody. And just the way that he was able to make it happen. He literally was the leading role in the film.
Wow. I got to check that out.
It was fantastic.
Check that out.
Fantastic.
That's a great number 6. My number 6, gotta go with the hometown, Luda, aka Christopher Bridges. You know him from his many roles in the Fast and Furious series, Hustle and Flow. I think this guy is a phenomenal talent. He's a damn good rapper, but he is a phenomenal talent. I couldn't justify putting him in the top 5, but I had to get him in the top 10. He's somebody that I think, really started to break out on radio just at the same time when I moved here to Atlanta. At the same time, so I kind of watched him grow, but you could tell like he was going to be doing something. He wasn't one of those people that you think, okay, he's just going to be a radio jock or whatever like that. And then when I heard he could rap, that was something different. But as far as acting, no, he's got it. He has charisma. He has it. So yeah, I got Luda at number 6.
Now, when it comes to Luda, he's in my honorable mention.
Okay.
And I will tell you right now, spoiler alert, he's in my honorable mention side by side with the nigga who's walked with him through all the Fast and Furious, Tyrese. Because, he did the black tie era of...
You know what? I don't count the black
I'll just cross that one off the list.
But that's me now. That's me now. If you
No, you're right. No, I don't either. But it's a great joke. But
it is.
When he did Hustle and Flow, and again, we did a hindsight episode about that. When he did Hustle and Flow,
I gotta hear that.
I got to introduce you to my guy Brandon. First of all, I think the two of y'all would get along like famously.
Okay.
Secondly, when Luda did Hustle and Flow, Brandon said, and I quote, "I always forget that he's about to fuck Terrence Howard over. Every time I watch it, it just seems like the conversation is working, like it's going in the right direction, and then Skinny Black just fucks him over, and I always forget." Mm-hmm. But the way he played that role, I've known underground rappers who got a little bit of fame. Not even worldwide fame, just regional fame. I've known underground rappers and how they start acting. And of course, as a rapper and as a DJ, he's seen that life, so he's able to embody what he's seen. But still, it takes talent to be able to do it that well. And he did it perfectly. And then, like you said, you get to the Fast and Furious movies, even before Tyrese was there, when he was doing Tokyo Drift. Like, he's spectacular. He is. He's an amazing actor, and I'm excited to see what he's going to do as he goes on, because it seems like he's left rapping behind more for the movie aspect. So when he steps out of this Fast and Furious, which honestly is a moneymaker, why would you leave a moneymaker? But when he does something else, I could see him in the same lines as somebody like Mos. Like somebody who does those more dramatic roles just to challenge themselves. Like he seems like somebody who always wants to challenge themselves to move forward and keep improving. And I got to be honest with y'all, as a podcaster who's done so many things, I just love people who aren't scared to step out on, I want to see what I can do with this talent. I want to see what I can do next. So I see that one. I got respect for that one. That's a good pick.
Appreciate it. Yeah, it's I agree. I think he's at that point where I just don't see him rapping anymore. Not that he can't rap, but he's kind of at that point where he's like, I could either do this and chase that, or I can try to get these roles. And like you said, that Fast and Furious franchise, man, it ain't going nowhere. It's a steady check. It's a big check. So why would you ever, those right there, you gotta kick me out of the group.
You're gonna have to kill me off in the next movie before I'll stop doing these things.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep showing up for those. I tell you what, right now is a great time for us to take a quick commercial. So we're going to take a quick commercial break. On the other side of the break, we're going to give you our top 5.
Controversy.
Sit tight. It's me, my man Rashani, a.k.a. Derik, or is it Derik, a.k.a. Rashani?
With some of the podcasts that I do now, I stopped using the middle name and started using the first name. So it's either or. So yeah, you know me. Nah, you've known me all.
I'm calling you Rashani, so
exactly. So go for it. That's. If you see it, I'm gonna run it and take it. That's me. So yeah, go for it.
So yeah, we'll be back on the other side of the break. And just like that, we are back. It's your boy 12 Kyle and my man Rashani back in the building, and we are talking about the best rappers, our own top 10 best rappers who have turned actors. So before the break, we went through the top 10 through 6, and now we're going 5 to 1. Rashani, who you got for number 5?
First of all, listeners, I just want to say all hate mail can be sent to singlesimulcast@gmail.com. All arguments can be directed to the brick wall behind your house. Any consternation or complaints, you can hit up 12 Kyle on Twitter, and he'll send the best ones to me.
Yes.
Yeah, number 5. Whoo, about that. So this nigga, I love this dude. No, I'm not even gonna try and quantify it. Fuck it, let's just dive in. Number 5 is LL Cool J.
Okay.
I thought that was gonna be worse received than that. I'm sorry, but LL.
And the reason why it's not worse received because LL is my number 5 as well.
Okay. Let's talk about it. Then let's talk about it together. So LL, first of all, like I said, I told you I was going to circle all the way back around to this nigga. Mm-hmm. In his first role, not his first role, because his first role was In the House, which was a great comedy.
Yeah,
I enjoyed that. I loved it for what it was. I enjoyed it a lot. He did a great job in that role. When he went to Oz and became Jiggy Walker, though. First of all, the nigga's name was fucking Jiggy Walker. Jiggy Walker. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what happens when a white writing table writes about black inmates. Jiggy Walker. I didn't want to see him on TV anymore after that. I thought that the role was so contrived. I thought that he took that role and was so smarmy in it. Like he was still doing the LL lip licking shit. Watching LL in his early years of acting, not his early years of acting, but just in his first acting roles, was a lot like watching The Rock when The Rock first started acting. And he always had to put the rock bottom into his, no matter what he was doing. If he was doing an action movie, somebody was going to get the rock bottom. Somebody was going to get hit up with it because, you know, that's what he was able to fall back to. That's what people knew him for. And LL with the lip licking and all the mugging for the camera and all that. He couldn't help himself in the first roles that he did. He had to mug for somebody. There was always somebody out there who wanted to see him. All that. Nah, I'm cool. Fuck you. Just act. However, when it came to Any Given Sunday and Deep Blue Sea, that's when I started to respect LL as a real actor. Pass In Your House. When he went to Any Given Sunday, I believed that he was that football player. I believed he was that running back. I believed that he had that ego. I believed that he wanted to beat the shit out of Jamie Foxx. I believed every aspect of LL in those places. And then Deep Blue Sea was just fucking funny.
Yeah, it was.
So him going in there as, again, a rapper amongst all these actual actors and providing a role that I could sit back and sing. And y'all know now, my idea of was this a good role was if you give it to a credible actor, does the role get better or worse? Right. Not a credible actor, again, just happens to be Mario Van Peebles, so the bar is set pretty low, but at the same time, I'm not going to fucking judge anybody. But for LL, he's doing an amazing job with those two movies, and then he stepped into the house that he hasn't moved out of since, which is CSI, and he's just gotten better and better. Like, literally, he put aside all the mugging, he put aside everything else, and he became a real, honest-to-God actor, and I love to see the progression, and I love to see the growth, but he stumbled a fucking lot to get there. And for all of that, in the top 5, he's number 5. He's at the bottom of the top 5.
Yeah, I got him in there for some of the same reasons you said, man. I think the first time I saw LL in a movie, he wasn't actually acting. It was Crush Groove.
Groove. Yeah.
And he just came in there and lip synced his song. But yeah, man, I've seen the maturation of LL, and you know, he's come a long way, because like you said, there was a point in time, man. There's a point in time in kids where we didn't even see LL without his hat on. Mm-hmm. Even when he was acting on In the House, you know, he might give you a visor with a little bald at the top, but LL wasn't doing too much acting with it without a hat on. Mm-hmm. But he's grown, man. He's grown, and he's gotten better. And, you know, that part of that machine that he's on now, like you said, he's been, you don't see shows that stay on that long. And he's been on a long time. So I got him at number 5 too.
The longevity of CSI and the longevity of Law and Order SVU are literally parallel paths for growth. So. Like, so no matter what, without those shows, LL and Ice-T would not be the actors that they are right now. Like, they wouldn't have had that progression to where they currently are able to do what they're doing now. And it's just because of this one show for each of them. So It can definitely be done. It's just like I said, before he got there, he stumbled a lot to get to where he is right now.
Very much so. A lot of stumbling.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're at number 4. What you got for number 4?
The Queen Latifah in command.
So do I. So do I.
So, Living Single stands by itself.
Listen. Living Single does not get the credit that it deserves. It was a groundbreaking show.
Mm-hmm.
Friends stole from it. Let's just be honest. And I'll be honest, I've never seen an episode of Friends, but I know they stole from it.
Yeah.
But that show, man, is, even if you watch it in reruns today, Living Single is still as funny as it ever was. And Latifah, I mean, like, the way that she carried that episode, or those episodes, was dope, man. And I was already a fan of hers, but I became an even bigger fan just watching her and Living Single.
Mm-hmm. And it's again, it goes back to what I've been saying all this time. If you have an ensemble of dynamic actors, and then you have one rapper, and you tell somebody who doesn't know who Queen Latifah is, pick out the rapper. There's a rapper in that group? I guarantee you that's what the answer would have been. That show has a place in my heart.
Yeah. That
she helped to establish. Like, in the midst of everything else, she was in damn near every scene. She was the leading character. She was the person who propelled that show forward. And whether it was dramatic, whether it was comedic, whether it was just a very special episode and a lesson, she did it in a way that made you believe that she was built to be an actress. But past that, dude, she was fucking Cleo.
Listen, I didn't want to see her die in that movie.
I cried like a motherfucker, dude. I didn't cry. And again, go listen to Hindsight. We talked about Set It Off. Actually, for Set It Off, we talked about how the men in these women's lives fucked them over and over again, like badly. But Cleo, more so than the others, to an extent, because she was a lesbian growing up in an era where being that way wasn't really looked upon well in the neighborhoods they were growing up in. We did that episode. But Cleo was so fucking dope as an actress, as a character. Like, just, even if it wasn't for the lines and the acting and the portrayal, dude, that scene, when I close my eyes, like, listeners, close your eyes like this is the time to kill. Close your eyes and just picture that scene where she's in the police lineup, tapping her fucking pocket, and just the look on her face, just that steel grill, like, I can't even do it. And she did it as an actress, like, just embodied that role. And again, this is where it comes down to, in a sea of actors, point out the rapper. Yeah. And you can't do it with Queen Latifah. Queen Latifah was in fucking Chicago.
Yes.
She was in a musical where she was singing so well that she left rap and did an R&B and not traditional. What is that album called? Where she just does the classics, the standards. Yeah. She did a standards album based on her singing in a musical as a rapper who's acting. God, dog. When I found that out, I was like, boy, what? Dana, where are you coming from now? Like, she did Beauty Shop. She did Just Right.
Girls Trip.
She did Girls Trip.
I love Girls Trip.
I love Girls Trip so much.
I did not know I was gonna love that movie the way that I did. That was one movie where I saw it on a Friday and went back the next day to see it again.
Oh my God,
I don't
Girls
do that
Trip.
for no movies.
She's been in so many great bodies of work where she's not a fading willow. She's not falling into the background. She's not quietly sitting there waiting for her chance to come up and quietly say something and just fade back in. She is standing out. Wait. I got to look this one up because now it's on my mind. But like I said, I was just going off the head. There was a movie she did with her and Steve Martin.
I remember that. I can't remember the name of it, but I do remember.
I can't remember the name of it, but it was Bringing Down the House.
Yep.
It was her in a starring role with Steve Martin. And not only was she incredible in that movie, she went and wrote the lines for Eugene Levy, the dad from American Pie, the one who was out there like, you got me straight tripping off you, boo. She wrote all of his lines for him, so then he knew what to say. Because she looked at his lines, she was like, he wouldn't say that. He'd say this. Queen Latifah is a powerhouse. She's a force. And she's easily one of the most dynamic actors out there right now. There's nothing that she can't do. Right now, she's literally doing what's the TV show that's based off the movie that Denzel Washington did? There's like 3 of them. You know which one I'm talking about. It's not The Expendable, The Equalizer. Yeah. She's literally doing that right now, and she's holding it down. So all praise due to the Queen. She's killing the game. Period. Easy number 4 for me.
Yeah, same here, man. Like I said, I love Queen Latifah and Set It Off. I loved her in Living Single. She was in Juice, Bone Collector. Like you said, Chicago. And here's the thing that I want people to understand too about Latifah. And her role as Cleo, like you said, playing a lesbian and then having an on-screen kiss, like that wasn't something that was cool in the 90s. Like that was, she didn't get a lot of backlash for it, but she could have. And that was a risk because at that time she was Queen Latifah. She wasn't Dana Owens. She was making her money as Queen Latifah. So shout out to Dana Owens, aka Queen Latifah. All right, so now we're at number 3. I know our number 3s are going to be the same. So what you got at 3?
He doesn't like this name anymore. He doesn't want to be called this name anymore. But y'all know him by this name. But I know him by a different name. Because before I knew him by this name, I knew him as an actor in a different thing. Number 3 is Childish Gambino, a.k.a. Donald Glover.
Yes.
Before he was Childish Gambino, before he was doing Campfire and all that kind of stuff, before he was doing any of that shit, I need y'all to go to YouTube and look up Derik Comedy, Derrick Comedy. It was him and his 2 friends doing a bunch of skits, just comedic skits that he wrote and he put out there. Before he was rapping, he was in the writing room for 30 Rock. Before he was rapping, he was on Community. Before he was rapping, he was doing a lot of shit.
Yeah.
And then he went on to the Wu-Tang name generator and typed in his name and it popped up with Childish Gambino. And that's when he hit the stratosphere as a rapper. But Donald Glover, if I left behind Derik Comedy, which I love, I mean, it didn't age well in a couple things, but that's because it was done in like 2006, 2007.
Okay, early 2000s.
If I just stood on him as Troy in Community, that still goes to the point out the rapper in the room sort of situation. And even in a place where it's Joel McHale and Chevy Chase and Abed and all these folks, Troy is still one of the funniest people in this show consistently. Even if I push that to the side, though, if y'all don't give credit to Atlanta, if y'all don't give credit to what he did in Atlanta, just the drama, the comedy, the writing, the skill work, the just when when you ask people who don't know, hey, who's the rapper in Atlanta? And they're like Paperboy.
Right. Yeah, literally Paperboy.
Literally Paperboy. That says something. When you turn around and you see him in Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and you see the role he's doing now as a spy, when you just know that this guy was built to be an actor, he was just really fucking talented. So he started rapping as a side hobby, and the side hobby became the main dish.
Facts.
There's no way that I can put him below all these rappers who became actors. He was an actor / writer who wrote and did comedy before he started rapping. So there's no way that I can't say that he's not in the top 3 as far as rappers turned actors. It just doesn't make sense to me any other way. He's not going to hit the top 2 to me because of the body of work these other 2 have done.
Right.
But as far as the Pantheon goes and just the stuff that he's done and the trails that he's blazed, he's number 3 to me. And that one, again, that might be the controversial pick, but I'm going to stand on it.
I don't think it is. For everything that you said, now you got me look, because I got him as an honorable mention, and I loved Atlanta. Man, I loved Atlanta. But like I'm looking at my list, and now after what you just said, I'm trying to figure out who I can move off my list to put him on. I really don't want to move DMX, but I can make a case that I can take him from honorable mention and put him at 7 or maybe 6 based off what you just said. Because writing for 30 Rock doesn't happen. Doing what he did, and like you said, he just happened to start rapping, and rapping took off before the acting part. This dude is super talented.
The motherfucker did a stand-up comedy show. It's on Comedy Central. Like, I don't know.
There's very little that he can't do.
Exactly.
So I got him at an honorable mention, but no, you're right. I probably could move X out of that 7 slot and put him there. My number 3 is the guy you already mentioned, Tupac. So Bailey's gonna be happy about this.
Yeah.
Like you said, Juice was it for me. And Juice is one of those movies. It's not the ending sucked. Guess you got the juice now, man. Shut up. The end of, and I think I told Baylor this when we talked about y'all's episode. The ending of Juice makes me think like they ran out of money.
Yeah,
like they just literally like, all right, man. Hey, man, listen. Last day of shooting today, man. Okay, so you're gonna run here. We're gonna pop a couple of shots at you, and then we're gonna have a fight in the elevator, and then you're gonna flip over the thing, and because if you watch the movie, he actually tells him now, and so you can hear him before he flips him over. He tells him now to flip him over. So it was just so low budget, and then that clown at the end, you got the juice now, man. But anyway. I want to slap that dude, man. I don't even know who he is.
That's why I was so happy when Don't Be a Menace to South Central came out.
Yeah.
And the grandma was like, shut the fuck up, nigga. Like she told him, you got the juice now, grandma. Shut the fuck up, nigga.
Right. So, but yeah, Pac in that movie, man, was incredible. Like you said, above the rim. And I think part of what my thought process with Pac is, like you said, he left here way too early. Had he lived, I don't know if he could have cracked the top 2, but he might have. I don't know, because Sky that dude was super, super talented. In so many ways. And I mean, like I even flash back to, the episode that he did on A Different World when he came back as Lena's boyfriend, which was Jada Pinkett Smith's role, which foreshadowing. but yeah, I got Tupac at number 3.
I like to tell folks when they're like, yeah, Tupac did this, that, and the third. I was like, yeah, but I mean, let's now that I got a chance to wax poetic about my guy again, and I can actually take a look at shit. back when he was still rapping. Back when 1993, when he had just done Tupacalypse, motherfucking now in 1991, before he did Strictly for My Niggas in 1992, before he did that, this nigga hopped into a postal van
Yeah.
and did Poetic Justice,
with Janet Jackson. Yep.
with Janet Jackson, and had the charisma and had everything that had folks like, hey, Janet, why don't you want to fuck him? Like, yo, Janet, like, what the fuck, man? And that was his first, like, as far as I know, that was his first thing past Juice. It was like I told somebody, look, Tupac played a heroin addict who his whole thing was, I'm trying to get into rehab. That's what I'm trying to do. Gridlocked was incredible to me.
Damn good movie.
And it was him and Tim Roth just side by side knocking it out. Every time Tupac stepped into a role, I knew that there was going to be something great that was going to happen. And so I'm not debating at all that he's number 3 on your list. Like I said, my thing was it's my thoughts of where he would have gone was all future based.
Yeah.
And when I was doing single simulcast, I did a thing where we did the top rappers of all time. And on the East Coast, I bumped Jay-Z out of number 1 for Biggie. Okay. Because of what he may have done in the future. And folks were so upset that I did something based on future work when Jay-Z was right there in the here and now that I got flamed up for like a week. It didn't last long, but ever since then, I've never done future work. It's just like, what's your body of work right now? And Tupac's body of work is definitely strong, but it's not stronger than Latifah's.
Right. And then when you think about it, I mean, Pac left here at 24. You know what I mean? So like, that's the crazy thing. Like, and for those of us who lived through that time, we tend to forget that he was only 24 with all of the accomplishments that he did in a relative. I mean, like his quote unquote run really was 4 years. That was it. From the first album to the last.
Tupac burned so brightly.
For maybe 5 years.
Tupac burned so brightly that I often, and I can't do anything about it. I mean, when he died, I was 16. He was 25 when he died.
Okay.
Because June 1671. Yeah. So, but I often think about,
you're right.
I often think about what would have happened if he had never met Suge Knight. Like, because a lot of folks, when they listen to Tupac's albums, and if I could have a second, a lot of folks talk about All Eyes on Me, and a lot of folks talk about Machiavelli. But to me, his best album that he ever did was Me Against the World.
Same.
Me Against the World, that body of work is just like 1 through whatever. Like, I have a playlist on Spotify of rap favorites. That's the only complete album that I added to this playlist. But then he went to jail. And so you could see the change in him on that album. Like, it's really weird when you think about the juxtaposition between Old School, which he has on that album, where is Brooklyn in the house. One thing I gotta say, between that and Fuck the World. Like, the anger that came when he went to jail and got out, and who you call him rapist. Just the vitriol in his voice. But even then, he could have came back. He could have came back to Brenda's Got a Baby. He could have came back to this guy who's looking out for all these folks. But after that, he was on a tear of misogyny and fuck these bitches, and fuck these rappers on the East Coast who didn't stand with me, and all that kind of stuff. And he just started down this path of destruction. I saw this thing on Facebook a couple days ago, actually, where Snoop was saying that he was walking with Pac, and they came up to Nas. They came across Nas.
I remember that. Yeah.
And
Yep.
Pac told Nas, "Hey man, I talk shit about you and this person. I punked you out." And Nas was like, "Yo man, I love the album." And Snoop was like, "While Pac is talking, it's just me and Pac, and I'm looking around, and Nas got all these people around him, and Nas ain't got no guns or nothing, but he's got people just with him." And that's when I realized Nas's people all got the gun, so Nas ain't got the gun. And Nas was like, "You know what? I love you, Pac. You did a great job. I'm a big fan of yours." And Pac was like, "I punked that nigga to Snoop," and Snoop was like thinking to himself, "Nah, man, Nas let you live." And when Pac adopted that mindset, that's when, at 24, again, you got to think about what you were like as a 24-year-old, like how impressionable you were, the mistakes you made, the path you went down that you had to walk back from, the people you wish you could apologize to, all that. Pac didn't have that chance at 24, 25 to make amends for the things that he did, because while he's walking in this path, the people who he's walking with are living this path. And so, again, Pac could have been fantastic if he had never met Suge Knight. Dre could have been fantastic if he had never met Suge Knight. Like all these things in the West, in my opinion, were altered forever because of Suge Knight. And one day I might do a podcast about that, just the effect of Suge Knight on music and culture as a whole. But the biggest thing is Tupac's life, and to an extent, Biggie's life, were extinguished way too quickly because Tupac chose to walk with a full-on Pyru blood who would not hesitate to stomp a nigga out because they looked at him the wrong way. Pac was out of his element, but Pac was an actor even from a young age, so Pac started acting like the people around him, and that led to his demise. And I will stand on that till the day that I die.
What if you could have a career where the opportunities are as vast as our nation, where it's not about mission statements, but a shared mission? At U.S. Customs and Border Protection, we go beyond to protect more than borders. From ship to shore, air to ground, cities to local communities, CBP agents and officers are keeping people safe. Join U.S. Customs and Border Protection and go beyond for something far greater than yourself. Learn more at cbp.gov/careers.
What's the easiest choice you can make? Window instead of middle seat? Picking a vendor who sends a great gift basket? Outsourcing business tasks you hate? What about selling with Shopify? Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. From the launch your online shop stage to the first real-life store stage, all the way to the did we just hit 1 million orders stage. Shopify's there to help you grow. Whether you're selling scented soap or offering outdoor outfits, Shopify helps you sell. Wherever and whatever you're selling, Shopify's got you covered. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/try. Go to shopify.com/try now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/try.
At Kroger Pharmacy, care is what's most convenient for you. Care is being here when you need us. We're open evenings and weekends. Care is helping you save more. Most insurance plans and discount cards are accepted at your local Kroger Pharmacy. Care is saving you time by managing your prescriptions online. You can request refills, check order status, and more. Care is convenience that works for everyone. Kroger Health, a world of care is in store. Services and availability vary by location. Age and other restrictions may apply. For coverage, consult your health insurance company. Visit the pharmacy or our site for details.
Yes, I ain't got nothing else to add. We're at 2.
Number 2.
I think we got the same number 2.
We got to have the same number 2 because number 1 is like Mount Rushmore. He's just there. Right. But number 2 is Doughboy himself, Ice Cube.
Yep. Same
if you know Ice Cube's bigger movies, cool. You know about Boys in the Hood. You know about Are We There Yet? You know about 21 Jump Street and all that, maybe. When I look at Ice Cube, not only Doughboy, which again was his very first role. And he did, again, who's the rapper, who's the actor. That's what I always go back to. We did an episode on Hindsight about Boys in the Hood. He got our MVP across the board for that one. But then, after he did Boys in the Hood, people were just like, okay, whatever. So when he quietly walked across the street and did The Glass Shield, where he played a guy who's going up against these cops, where he played it was a drama about a guy who was just being set upon by cops. An amazing movie. I recommend it to everybody who has some time on their hands. It was like, okay, he did that. He did an excellent job in that role. That's different from Doughboy, like completely different from Doughboy. Then he walked back across the street to John Singleton and he did Higher Learning. Mr. Williams, Do You Have a Plan? And was completely different from either one of them roles. But we did say in Boys in the Hood that would have been him if he hadn't died. He would have went to college and became Mr. Williams. Then he walked back across the street and he did the Triple X movies. State of the Union and all that kind of shit before it fell into Vin Diesel's hands. And then he walked back across the street and the nigga did the 21 Jump Street franchise, which is still some of the funniest comedies I've seen in a long time. And he was incredible in them. And he did the Are We There Yet series. And he did, wait, ladies and gentlemen, my black card's not getting revoked. He wrote and directed in and starred in Friday. The body of work that this man has done where he's just been stellar can't be touched.
And I'm going to add one more that you forgot. The Barbershop series.
Oh, my God. My God.
The Friday will forever be a hood classic. And like you said, I mean, like, for me, Boys in the Hood, that was it, man. Because for one, I came into it being a fan, and I didn't know if he could pull it off. But he literally took me, a kid from Florence, South Carolina, and he put me in South Central LA. I had no idea what South Central LA looked like outside of music. He and John Singleton. And John Singleton caught a lot of flack for it because, again, he goes from Ice Cube in NWA to a lead role in a major Hollywood film. That doesn't happen. Not in the year that it came. Was that 91? Not in 91. It doesn't happen. And there were actors that were pissed that he got that role. I want to say Samuel L. Jackson said something about it. He was one of the actors that vocally came out about it. But yeah, Ice Cube, man, you can't tell. I mean, like, it's funny because you got kids. I remember thinking to myself as we were watching Are We There Yet with the kids, like, y'all don't have no idea who this dude is. This dude was the self-proclaimed nigga you love to hate. The guy that gave you fuck the police.
Let's go past that. Let's go past fuck the police. Let's go past the nigga you love to hate. This is the nigga who literally wrote an album that just eviscerated, just killed a whole rap group, but then also was so racist against Asians and Koreans and Jewish people.
Death Certificate.
And now he's out here doing palatable shit with white folks.
Listen, Death Certificate is the blackest album ever. There'll never be another album that black, another hip hop.
It can't happen. Like, we did an episode on Single Simulcast about Death Certificate. We did one 15 years later, listen to Death Certificate and just talk about it. It was Evan Barnes. Okay. I had Evan on with me. And we went through line by line and talked about Death Certificate, and you're absolutely right. That shit would not fly. But for him to go from Death Certificate to less than 40 years, 30 years later, being up on stage with comedians, what the fuck is that white boy's name who had that show on HBO where he said nigger, and so he had Ice Cube come up there and tell him why he was wrong.
Bill Maher?
Bill Maher. Yep. Bill Maher is like, yo, I'm gonna have him up here because he did Death certificate, and all the white folks in the crowd are like, "What's death certificate, sir?"
Right.
Like, who's the fucking Don Mega? Like, what are we talking about here? That's O'Shea. Like, his son. Let's look at the legacy here. His son didn't even look to go on to rapping. His son went straight into acting because of the lifestyle that his father showed him. Was an actor.
The hell out of the role in Straight Outta Compton.
Played the hell out of the role in in like the 3 movies I've seen him in so far. O'Shea Jackson Jr. is gonna be something. But if his dad never was credible as an actor and as a writer, his son would have never stepped into that world.
Right. Ice
Cube is amazingly talented. And I'm going to give him the flowers he deserves right now, period.
Facts. I guess if you've been listening this long as we wrap up this episode, you know who number 1 is.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth. I want to apologize. I want to apologize to everybody. I didn't mean to hit Chris like that. Nigga folded up like a rubber band.
Okay, so my question is, and I could list all of his accomplishments from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air to the Bad Boys series, Independence Day, Men in Black, Enemy of State, Pursuit of Happiness, Ali, I Am Legend. Has he recovered from the slap?
To black people, yes, because when Bad Boys came out, the new Bad Boys that came out did blockbuster. Like, it went. Like, niggas don't care. White people cared about that slap. Niggas was like, yeah, keep her fucking name out your mouth, bro. Like you fucked around and found out. That was the whole thing. Niggas did not give a single shit that this nigga stepped up on stage and hit his wife or hit Chris Rock. Niggas cared more about Jada fucking around with August Alsina and having situationships than they cared about Will slapping Chris. Niggas made jokes about Will slapping Chris even knowing about the situationship. But nobody cared about him stepping up on stage like that.
Yeah.
No.
And I think from what I saw on social media, it did. There was a split. There were a lot that had a problem with Will slapping him. There was a lot that had a problem that didn't have a problem with Will slapping him. But like you said, I think there's more people, more of us that definitely have a problem with how Jada has carried on these last 10, 15 years than Will has. But that being said, just, as far as the movies are concerned, I think he's back. That Bad Boy, the last one definitely proved that. Hell, Will was from what I understand, at the BET Awards performing, and he ain't performed at BET in forever. But you do what you got to do to get your people back. I think Hollywood recognizes that he's still one of the most, if not the biggest, marketable star that they have. And he sat down for a minute. He sat down for a couple of, it was 2 years maybe. And but he's back. And I mean, you can't deny it. He's number 1 for me.
Oh, it's easy. Like, you named all of those, and that's great. Yeah, great. Yeah, whatever. The nigga did 6 Degrees of Separation, like, out the gate. Like, as soon as he stepped onto taking movie roles, he took that one on and knocked it out of the park. Then, just for shits and giggles, he turned around and created my eldest son and my eldest daughter's favorite children's movie of all time, fucking Shark Tale.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Like, him and Jack Black came out and did Shark Tale, and I have no complaints with that whatsoever. But then wait, the nigga went and turned around and bulked up and did Independence Day and did the string of summer blockbusters where he literally couldn't miss for like 7 or 8 years.
That doesn't happen.
Right? Like, that's not something, I mean, Fast and the Furious maybe might be in that same vein of, but these weren't sequels. That's what you have to keep in mind. These weren't sequels. These were all unique IPs that he was coming out with and just steadily doing billions.
Billions with a B.
With a B. Back in the 90s, in the early 2000s, billions with the B were coming for Will Smith. Will Smith was the highest paid actor in the world when he did Ali. Ali came to him and said, I want you to play me. Nobody else. Not Denzel. I can't think of black actors past Denzel back in the early 90s, which is sad. Not Samuel L. Jackson, obviously, because Samuel L. was already old at that point in time. But then, after he had his flop with Wild Wild West, sure, great, okay, whatever. Enemy of the State is one of the best spy movies I've ever seen.
Love it. One of my
It does not get credit. Will Smith stood next to Gene Hackman and destroyed that film. Like, bit by bit, piece by piece. And again, y'all know what my standard is. If you ask somebody who's the rapper and who's the actor, will they know the difference? He literally did that in Bad Boy. He did Hancock. I just watched Hancock again when I was in Florida. I sat down and watched Hancock again with my wife. And my wife, my mom, and her husband, we were sitting in a room in Florida watching Hancock and laughing about when he was like, hey, I'm going to take your head and I'm going to shove it up his ass. And yeah, no. So he did King Richard.
Oh, damn, I forgot about King Richard.
He did King Richard, where he was fucking spectacular. But wait, there's more. He did In the Pursuit of Happiness. Mm-hmm. Dude, if you didn't cry as a father and In the Pursuit of Happiness, I don't really know what to tell you. Yeah. I don't. Because even thinking about the steps he took as a father now, as I get older and I think about the sacrifice and the steps you make for your children, mm-hmm. Not only that, but he drug his son into acting. Yeah. Like, and made him a credible actor because, yeah. Then, on top of all that, he went back to cartoons and he did Spies in Disguise where he played a fucking pigeon. He did Aladdin, like you said. About Aladdin, yeah. He did Hitch with Eva Mendes. Oh, my God. And just killed all of these roles. These weren't, if the movie was a failure, if the movie didn't sell like it was supposed to, there was never a point in time with any of these movies that I could think of off the top of my head where you could be like, you know what, it was Will's fault that those movies didn't sell. Right. Will didn't bring it. Will wasn't A1. Will didn't do his thing. Let's be honest. Can I be honest for a second, 12 Kyle? Can I be honest for a second? Please. Hey, do me a favor. Ask your beloved wife, Sharice, if I could be honest for a second. Because I Am Legend. Mm-hmm. This rapper. You saw my voice went up when I said this rapper did a fucking Castaway movie, essentially, where he's the only person in the fucking movie. He held down a movie for 2 hours with nobody else in it but a goddamn dog.
By him and the dog by themselves.
And killed it. What the fuck?
iRobot too. I forgot about that.
He did iRobot, where he's literally advertising for fucking Converse. Chuck Taylor's in the midst of the movie, but he's literally killing this movie. He has had misses. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to lie. Concussion, it was a little bit too on the nose for me.
Listen, I love Concussion. I am former football player. I understood the history of it and everything. I absolutely love that movie.
Yeah, but 10 pounds or whatever it was, 40 pounds, 10 pounds, whatever that one was after that. He had a couple where it was just like...
Yeah, I mean, but you know what? If you're in the game long enough, you're going to miss some shots.
And I'm saying, he's been in the game as a credible actor for so long that this nigga doesn't even have to rap. No. He doesn't have to. He's literally the rapper who stepped away not only from rapping. Let's do it like this. Queen Latifah, when you see her in roles, as Queen Latifah. It's not too often that you'll see her as Dana Owens, and I can't think of too many things where she came out as Dana Owens in the movie theater. Mm-hmm. Ice-T, even now with Law and Order, his name is Ice-T on there. Mm-hmm. They're not putting his... Yeah. LL Cool J, they're not doing James Smith. DMX, they didn't do Earl Simmons. Tupac, they did Tupac Shakur, but that's his real name. Mm-hmm. Method Man, they're not doing his real name. Let's just go down the line. They're not doing his real name. Ludacris.
Mm-hmm. He's Luda.
Will Smith early on recognized, you know what, I'm good at this shit, and put aside the Fresh Prince and was Will Smith. Mm-hmm. Even when he came back to rapping with the name Will Smith. He was no longer the Fresh Prince at all. He put that aside and was like, I'm going to stand in this world. And if I'm rapping, I'm bringing this world to rap. I'm not bringing rap into acting. He set everything else aside and excelled. Mm-hmm. There's nobody else who did that. Ice-T or Ice Cube, number 2 on the list, did not fucking do that.
No. And the thing that I love about Will was that, you know, Fresh Prince was a gamble. It really was a gamble. People don't realize how big it was, but to have a rapper in 1986, 87 get a show on networks. Now, it's one thing to put a rapper in a movie, but to give him a weekly slot on a major network as NBC, that wasn't going to happen. And for him to come out and kill it the way that he did, and of course, you know, when you think about Will and acting on The Fresh Prince, you go back to that father episode with Ben Vereen. Mm-hmm. Him and Uncle Phil. He killed it.
So here's a little something that a lot of folks don't know, because a lot of folks, you know, we talk about our lives, but we don't talk deeply about our lives sometimes. One of my closest friends growing up and my next door neighbor when I was growing up was Ben Marcel. Okay. Still know him, love him, like good friend of mine. We catch up with each other, not as often as we used to, but still a great friend. I'm going to keep saying Marcel. His dad, Joseph Marcel, played Jeffrey on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. So, one weekend, Jeffrey, or Joseph, flew Ben, my brother, and myself out to Studio City, where we stayed at his condo and went to a live taping of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Wow. I was able to see Will Smith in his element as an actor. I got to see him work on ad-libs that didn't land. So he was like, let's go ahead and run that back, and I'm going to try this one. I saw the freedom that they gave him as a young actor in this world. They didn't keep a leash on him because he was a rapper. They gave him the length, the opportunity to strive and fail. And so the growth has been there for him since like 1992, 1993, and it's been steady. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to say he came out in the first episode of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, because if you watch the first episode, he's not the same person he was the last episode, obviously, but he worked through it, and he studied his lines, and he studied with Uncle Phil. Acting coaches, Uncle James Avery, Joseph Marcel, all these luminaries in black acting. He sat with them and he learned from it at their feet. And I can tell you right now, getting that opportunity was so dynamic and so instrumental for him that there was no way that he wasn't going to be able to do the things that he's able to do now. Because he took it seriously from the very beginning. Nowadays, you'll see rappers who just pop up in shows, pop up in movies, pop up in all this stuff, and you can tell that they're just doing it as a paycheck. I had Eve on my honorable mention for a second. I thought about Eve, because Eve came out and she really enmeshed herself. And then when I saw her in Queens, I was like, okay, yeah, this is fantastic. But Will Smith, from day one, wanted this. And he trained for it, and he worked for it, and he attained it. And so there's nobody else that I could see having this high of a ranking on this list. There's nobody I could see higher than Will Smith. Because right now, more than any other person, if you asked a white person, or if you asked an old person, or if you asked somebody to point out the actor and point out the rapper, they literally, if you told them Will Smith was a rapper, they look at you and be like, get the fuck out of my face.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of my face. And that's even with this nigga doing his own theme music. Like, he did the Men in Black. He did the Wild Wild West theme song. He did the theme music for so many of these things. And they still be like, get the fuck out of my face. Mm-hmm. Will Smith is a actor. He did Ali. He slapped Chris Rock.
Yeah, Will Smith definitely is at the top of everybody's list. Before we get out of here, I've got a couple of my honor mentions. I know you said you had some. We can just run them down. I've got Clifford Harris, a.k.a. T.I. Eve, the aforementioned Eve, Bow Wow as well. And a sentimental one, Kid and Play. I got Kid and Play. They weren't great actors, but, the movie.
The House Party
just, it still resonates with me.
Yeah, and it set it off for everybody. I still like to say House Party Part 2 was the avenue that gave Chris Tucker and Bernie Mac a chance to be on screen, because House Party 3, mm-hmm. Where Kid is getting married, is nothing more than a gateway between House Party, between movies and Def Comedy Jam. Because Chris Tucker was on it, Bernie Mac was on it, Angela was on it, Hey Felicia, Bye Felicia was on it. All these people were on it. And so, yeah, I got to give them props for that, if nothing else. For me, like I said, I got Luda on there. I got Redman.
Okay.
Redman, again, and How High just by itself was legendary. Mm-hmm. Just the way he tore that apart. And then in my LMFAO listing, how much credit are we going to give Terrence Howard, really?
Did he ever really rap, though?
The nigga rapped in Hustle and Flow.
But he was not a rapper, though. But he did rap in the movie, but he wasn't a rapper in real life.
But on the soundtrack, is he rapping on the soundtrack?
Yeah, but it's like that's like if you say, well, hey, Idris Elba, he used to rap when he was coming up.
Idris is an impressive motherfucker. But no, I just wanted to, Terrence Howard, they had him on that list, so I was like, his body of work from the best man. Nah, but honestly,
I need more bars outside of Whoop That Trick.
Red, Luda, and then if you want to allow, I could see Bow Wow, because again, I loved his performance in Roll Bounce. I thought that it was just so. As somebody who has gone through loss, I felt that so strongly from both sides, and he was again point out the rapper in this group. But Tyrese, I know that Black Tie was the only one. I know this, man. But what he did in Baby Boy, Transformers, the Fast and Furious series, his Instagram where he's like, "Bring my baby home."
I'm gonna let you rock with Tyrese.
But I didn't put Marky Mark out there for what it's worth.
Yeah, Marky Mark, I'm sorry. Not sorry, but Marky Mark doesn't. He doesn't
give good vibrations.
List, no, it does not good vibrations at all. Pun intended.
But yeah, those were my honorable mentions.
Okay. Well, that's going to do it for us. Before we get out of here, Rashani, man, tell folks where they can find you, where they can find your podcast, all 15 of them.
So here's what you're going to want to do, and I need y'all to listen to this very closely because it's important. Linktree, linktr.ee/SSCast. Type that in, because what I realized was that on Linktree, I can make branches. Yep. And so off of those branches, I have all of my podcasts. Let's start from the beginning. When I first started, let's start from the end. I have a podcast called Ratchet Book Club. Ratchet Book Club is a book club starring just me, and I read hood classics and good classics. When I say hood classics, I mean I read Old Thought Next Door. I read Horson. I read the Cartel series, and I make fun of them as needed. I discuss it. I talk about it. I've also read The Phantom Toll Booth. Mm-hmm. I read Bridge of Terabithia. I read books by Dean Koontz. So And each of them get a discussion. And I love that. I love that show. I urge everybody to check it out. Ratchet Book Club. And all these shows are available on Spotify and wherever you can find podcasts at. Hindsight is a show that me and my boy Brandon do where we watch old movies and discuss them as adults and see if it still holds up as adults. And did you know that in New Jack City, not only do they have a scene where he's stabbing Christopher Williams' hand, did you know he missed?
Yes. I slowed it down.
I slowed it down and posted it up on Facebook like 20 times. Nobody said anything. But here's the thing. Everybody knows about the stabbing scene. Everybody knows about the stabbery. That's great. Did you know that at the beginning, when Dutta Man is dangling the white boy over the bridge, and the guy in the background is talking like a radio announcer or whatever, like a newscaster. Did you hear at the beginning where he's talking about how 3 Italian men were gunned down in an apparent drive-by in front of a restaurant in New York? That's the murder that happens at the end of the movie where they come up on the motorcycle and shoot everybody. They talk about it in the intro credits.
Wow. I never heard that. Okay.
It's just things that we talk about on this show because I go through with a fine-tooth comb and just analyze these movies. It's really fun. It's called Hindsight Movie Reviews. I have a show called RTO Podcast. And from RTO Podcast, we have done, that stands for Return to Oswald. That's where it started off at. Brandon had never seen Oz before. So we went back and we watched Oz episode by episode, season by season. And discussed it. It was him, Brandon. It was Brandon, myself, and my boy Scarfinger. And so we've done Oz. We went all the way through that. We went all the way through ESPN's Playmakers, which was only one season. We went through, listen to the show and watch it again. It's on YouTube. The Playmakers is on YouTube. But go back through and see what you think when you watched it again. We did Orphan Black. So we went through Orphan Black episode by episode. We went through Breaking Bad. We went through, we're now doing The Shield. And we did something else, like one-off seasons of shows that are really good. That's RTO Podcast. I created a serial drama, an audio drama called Sin and Solace, about an assassin, Jeremiah Sinclair, and his best friend, working for the syndicate. I literally believe I was the first person to make a audio drama. I wrote it, directed it, was a lead character, the whole 9 yards, back when there was nothing but Skype and Audacity to do editing on. I did that. Let me see. I have a podcast called The Dream Team, in which myself, Scar, and Adjective J would sit down, and we were the 3 best comedians you knew, and we would sit down and we would talk for like an hour or 5, and it was greatness. I have a podcast called A Musical Love Affair, in which I talk about how music has affected my life, like one song per episode, how it affected my life and what it meant to me. And the first series I did was talking about how I met my wife and meeting my wife through music and just the playlist that accompanied our life. Single Simulcast was the flagship show, in which I talked pop culture. Shantae and I, initially it was just myself, and then later on my beloved sister Shantae joined me, and we knocked that out the park for years. There's about 300 to 400 episodes of that. Unburdened, which is a show that I do with my friend Gerald and my friend Corbin, and it's 3 black men talking about the bias and generational curses and trauma and just the things that we experience as kids. We're trying to unburden ourselves of them so we can become better fathers and better husbands and better people. And the first episode we did about that was the death of Superman, or the end of No Sick Days, because when we were growing up, and Kyle, growing up in South Carolina, I'm sure you know, your parents, when you would ask to stay home sick from school, your dad's answer would be like, you could have a sick day when I take a sick day. And my dad never took a sick day. Like, he prided himself on never taking a sick day. And when I grew up and became an adult and found out that sick days were literally given to you, you had hours of sick days. And that if you didn't lose them, if you didn't use them, you lost them. I looked at him like, wait, what?
Yeah,
Why? They needed me for what? They gave you a watch. You died with a watch and like 2,000 hours of sick leave at your desk because you were so stressed out about making it to a job that you fucking hated. And then the last show, well, not the last show. I do other shows. We have single serving show in which we did one episode of a genre of podcasting per episode. We never went back. Okay. So every episode was a different genre of podcast, and then we never returned to it. But the last one I did was called 20 Minutes. And 20 Minutes was when I interviewed someone for approximately 20 minutes about whatever interests me. So I talked with my mom about breast cancer. I talked with my friend about gay rights. I talked with one of my homeboys about being a single parent. I talked with Mr. Span about being a Freemason. Okay. I talked with one of my old homegirls about being a sex worker. Just whatever interests me, and for exactly 20 minutes. It was 20 minutes long. At that point, the show stopped, and look, it's over. I just have a lot of podcasts and a lot of ideas, and I want to see where they take me to. And I'm happy to say that I'm still able to podcast. Oh, I have storytellers. Oh my God. So storytellers is when I get 4 people together, or else I get 3 people together and myself, and 3 cards, and we create a story. And I'm not going to tell you how it works because I don't want anybody stealing my ideas. But it is one of the most creative things I've ever done. And I wish I could get it out to a higher producer so then they would pay me for it. Right. And I could really get it taken and take off with it. But it's fantastic. And Baylor's been on that one like 3 or 4 times now. Mm-hmm. And I think that's all of my shows. When I really sit back and think about it in the quiet moments, I can usually think about more shows that I did, but time ticks.
Right.
And I'm just happy to have the opportunity to just keep on doing these shows. So again, go to Linktree /SScast. And at that point, you'll just see branches, like all of my shows. I also cater. And I'm a basketball coach. And I do live streams of video games.
He does.
And I'm a husband and a father of 4. So, yeah.
He literally does everything.
But, Kyle, I'm so grateful that you had me on here. I really do appreciate it.
It's been a long time coming. And it's funny because as you were listening those podcasts, I was like, okay, yeah, I was on Single Simulcast. I was like, yeah, I was on Unbothered. And I was on, we talked about 20 minutes. I thought that was a brilliant idea because especially the way we talk, being anywhere for 20 minutes and talking for 20 minutes and stopping at 20 minutes ain't exactly the easiest thing to do. But yeah, y'all check out his Linktree, support this brother. Like I said, he literally he's had a podcast before there were podcasts. He was the original. Him and Combat Jack. Literally.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace to the God. Yes, Hold on 1 second, Kyle.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see if I can get this.
Yo, what's up, world? It's your boy 12 Kyle from the 12 Radio Show. Make sure you check me out every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Blog Talk Radio. You can also catch my show on iTunes as well. When I'm not doing my show, I'm checking out Single Simulcast with my man Rashani. Yo, this dude is crazy for real. I mean, like, really, really crazy. I mean, like, he's been institutionalized at some point in time in his life. Anyway, it's a great show. Make sure you check it out. That said, back to the show.
Wow, the drop with the 12 Radio Show promo. Wow.
So I look at podcasting as a time capsule of where we were and where we are now. Mm-hmm. And I treasure every moment. So I want to thank you again for even taking the time out to do that promo for me. Man, and for being my friend and just for walking with me, because there were times where it got really dark. Especially back then when there was no Spotify, there was no real feedback, there was no real reviews. You're just talking and wondering if anybody's listening. And I always knew that there were people out there who supported me.
No
And
doubt.
even though we weren't able to get together and do an episode or do a lot of shows together, I just want to let you know that I've always had your back. I've always supported you. I've always just been there no matter what. I saw your show. I shared it. I retweeted it on Twitter. I did these things. I may not have dropped in and said, hey, Kyle, I'm doing this, that, and the third. But it was like, this is my guy. You know, we going to do this. Watching the babies grow up. Watching you and your beautiful wife go to your reunions and to the homecomings and everything, and just being great and thriving and everything. It's just, I'm grateful for you. And I'm grateful for the life that you're living. I'm grateful for your family. I'm grateful for the path. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to come in here and really work with you on this.
Man, I'm honored. And I appreciate those kind words. I echo the same thing because, like I said, we go back that far to where I had a radio show in 2010. So I mean, that just shows you. And like you said, it's a time capsule. What I always say about this podcast, and I know that, you know, some of us OGs and vets kind of feel the same way. It's a time capsule for those when we're no longer here. So my grandkids, your grandkids, great grandkids. Well, let me, you know, I'm related to Derek Jones. Let me hear how he sounded. What did he think about this? Oh, he thought about this. He said this about LeBron. He said this about Michael Jordan. Or he said this about, you know, Kobe Bryant. Or he said this about Will Smith. Like that, I think that's important, particularly as we move on and, you know, we get older and, you know, fortunately or unfortunately, you know, we all ain't gonna be here forever. But yeah, man, I had to, when I heard y'all episode, I kind of kicked myself because I was like, damn, I wish I'd have been on that episode because you and Baylor had a ball. There's no doubt about that. And then once I went, because Baylor and I, we text every day. And so once he had hit me up and he told me, I was like, look, I'm gonna remix it. I was like, but I'm coming with something, but I'm not gonna tell you what it is. And I was like, and I'm gonna get Rashani on it. So when I saw this, I was like, this is right up his wheelhouse. I said he's a huge movie buff. And again, thanks for coming through, bro. I appreciate it. You guys have been listening. Thanks again for watching and listening to the 12 Kyle podcast. I'm gonna be like Rashani. Check out the link tree. That's where you can find all the stuff that we got going on. Got some big announcement coming soon. So you guys continue to support. That's going to do it for us. So for my man, Rashani, I am your boy 12 Kyle. We'll catch you guys next time. 5,000.
Thank you for tuning in to the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Share the podcast with a friend who needs the 12 Kyle podcast in their life. Every listen, every share, and every subscription helps us grow. So, go ahead, subscribe now and share it with a friend. Thanks for being a part of the 12 Kyle podcast community. We appreciate your support. 5,000.
Picture this. You're not just fixing cars, you're living your passion every day. At Cox, you'll work on a diverse range of automobiles. Surrounded by a team of friendly, like-minded individuals, you'll enjoy great pay and benefits. Ready to make this a reality? At Cox, we're recruiting auto and diesel techs to join our Mannheim and Fleet Services teams. Learn, grow, and fine-tune your career as a technician at Cox. Find out more at cox.careers/autotech.
Every day, we rise, challenging ourselves to work for what we believe in. At U.S. Border Patrol, protecting our borders is more than a job. It's a calling. Agents answer the call, working together to keep our country and communities safe. If you're ready for a new mission, join U.S. Border Patrol and go beyond. Learn more at cbp.gov/careers.